right. Hey, Brian. So glad to be having this conversation with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing really great today. I'm super excited to be here for this interview.
Okay, we'll be talking about, your personal journey in relation to your studies and your academics. So I want to do some questions, and if you want to add anything, I'll be happy to hear it. So thank you for being with me here today. The first thing I want to ask is, I want to ask you a little bit about your personal and professional background. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, my background really started when I was a child. I was a ballet dancer for many years. My mother put me in ballet when I was a child because I was very extroverted, but I didn't really know what to do with my energy. So first she got me piano lessons. Wasn't so into that. She put me on a sports team. I was playing t-ball as a child, or wasn't so into that. And then I found ballet, and ballet really changed my life. And from the time I was 8 years old till the time I was about 23 years old, I thought I was going to be a ballet dancer. And I did all types of dance, but ballet was the main one. And what happened was I injured myself and I thought, oh shoot, I need to figure out a new life's path. And I decided to work in my mother's beauty salon. I was her shampoo assistant for several months to about a year. And one of her coworkers said to me, you're good at this. You should become a hairstylist. So I became a hairstylist. I went to school and immediately I got picked up by a hair care company that had me traveling around Europe. I was traveling around Canada, around the United States, selling product by demonstrating and doing different shows and classes. And it really primed me to see that, oh gosh, I'm a teacher. I really like to teach. I like when people hear me. I like when people understand the information that I'm sharing with them. So I said, I think maybe I'm going to be doing this long term. So, long story a little shorter, I was a hairstylist. I was traveling around. I worked in a few different salons. I loved it. And then I turn about 27, 28 years old and say to myself, you know what? I'm tired of standing on my feet all day. I really enjoy this, but I think now I'm going to formally pursue my education as a teacher. So that's what I did. I went back to school and I became a teacher. I started with finishing up an associate's degree that I hadn't finished before. This is all when I'm 28 years old. I mean, people were telling me, aren't you a little old for this? And I said, no, you're never too old to be what you could have been. So
All right. So let me stop you there and ask you, before returning to graduate school, how did you see yourself as a learner or as an academic thinker?
well, I always saw myself as a learner. I didn't really know what an academic thinker was until I was really asked to think academically. I started writing papers. I started taking math classes for math that I never used in my life before. It was a very strenuous process. There were a lot of sleepless nights thinking, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? But I stuck with it. I got that associate's degree and I got a bachelor's degree. I became a teacher. I was working in a classroom with kids that were having challenges, and some of them with intellectual disability, some with autism. So it was a really great learning experience. And I felt like I was really thrown in there to the world of education and also to working with kids, kids that needed extra love and extra support. And it was fabulous. And then I became a history teacher and I absolutely loved teaching eighth grade US history. I pursued a master's degree in education. And now I am almost finished with a postgraduate degree. It's called a specialist degree in leadership. So that's kind of my trajectory.
So, how these experiences shape your confidence or your relationship with learning?
Well, I feel that I've really been shaped by my learning because it really is an iterative process. You have to keep going over and over and over things. So I would say to myself, why do I have to write all these papers? And my mother, she was very wise. She said to me, Brian, college is great. You learn a lot, but what you really do is you learn how to be persistent. And I think it's through that persistence of learning, of going to class, not only am I learning the textbook knowledge or the knowledge from the articles that I was reading or writing about, but I was actually learning how to do hard things. And not to be cliche, but there is a saying where I can do hard things. That was really my motto as I was going through school. So
About talking about that model, like now on when you took the decision to return to education, where was your motivation? What motivated you to pursue advanced education? I mean, this was you said like 28, and it was later, like, yeah, later in life. What motivated you?
So I know this is going to sound really maybe, I don't know how it's going to sound. I'll just say it. So I was cutting somebody's hair one day and they said to me, "You're so smart. Why are you a hairstylist?" And I said, "What's wrong with being a hairstylist? My mother was a is a hairstylist." I never had any conception that being a hairstylist was anything less than a great job. I enjoyed it. And I'm not saying anything poor about people that do hair. It's a wonderful profession. I really felt though when this person said that to me, I said, "You know what? Maybe I'm not living up to my own potential." And it really brought something from the background into the foreground of my mind. And I said, "You know what? I'm just going to go get my education. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to find an inexpensive program that I can find and no frills. I'm just going to go and be the person that I want to be." And if it wasn't for that maybe one offhanded comment, it's quite rude actually to tell somebody, "Why are you a hairstylist?"
Yeah.
Kind of like a sign from the universe. It's all in your interpretation.
Yeah.
It's a sign from the universe that, hey,
So this was the moment.
that was the moment for me. Yeah.
That was the moment you had the realization you decided to return to the school. I mean, many adults hesitate to pursue it, and well, yeah, to pursue an education later in life. At that moment, when you have this realization, you experience doubts or internal resistances. How was that process?
Well, you know what? I think there's a fine line between naivete and being a little dumb. So I don't think I'm very dumb, but I think I might be a little naive about exactly what certain things entail. So I'm the kind of person where I will hop on a plane and I will travel someplace by myself. I'm quite I didn't know this about myself, but I'm quite fearless. So once I'm in something, I'm in it. I'm not narrating it to myself. I'm not saying, "Oh my goodness, this is so hard. Why am I doing this?" I just say to myself, "What's the next thing that I need to do in order to be successful?" And I just kind of made a checklist in my mind. Okay, finish that class, finish this. And
Okay.
pretty soon I was finished with all my classes. And I said, "What next? What
All
other
right.
what can I do?" So that's really how I kind of live. Uh,
Okay, I see. And when you tell me about it, it's like you made the decision and you, I
I,
mean, let's go for it. But I'm asking you a little bit like those questionings you made, like if I belong, or I don't know, do I belong to graduate or doctoral level education?
Mhm.
You had those moments?
You know what? I guess you're asking me that question, and I have to say that being in education now for a while as an adult learner, I think all things are possible. So, being a doctor, getting a doctorate degree, getting a postgraduate degree, which I'm doing now, which is the bridge between a master's and a doctorate. All I have to do is write the dissertation on that 60 doctoral credits now. I believe I have to double check that, but very close, if not maybe slightly more. Um, and I think that education is just about putting your time in and just doing the best that you can. So as far as doubt goes, I thought to myself, "You know what? I got a good head on my shoulders. I've got determination. I have stamina. I have grit. Let's do this." So, um, I would like to be humble and say I doubted myself, of course, and perhaps that was there, but it was not the narrative that
Yeah.
drove that
Yeah.
drove
Yeah, because I guess it's normal to have like certain challenges, and I mean like emotional or psychological. People talk about this imposter syndrome. I want to know if there were moments when you felt that, and how did you navigate?
Well, I think that, imposter syndrome is very real. It's one of those things where when you don't have enough practice with something and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I've been thrown into this arena that I've never been before." But I think because my journey has been gradual, first the associate's degree, then the bachelor's, then the master's, I thought to myself, I do belong here. I've put the work in. So, again, it's not about not being humble because it's work. But if you're going to do it, I do it joyfully, do it, like a checklist and just say, you know what, this last class that I took enables me to be in this next one. And that bachelor's degree that I just got enables me to do a master's degree. So I think more so it was about feeling so proud of my accomplishments and not about feeling like I didn't deserve them because I knew the amount of work I put in.
So looking back, do you see a change in your self confidence since the beginning of this journey?
100%. Now I'm on the board of the Education Advisory Council of Fort Lauderdale. I was on the board. I didn't go for reelection. I did a 2-year term on one of the oldest political organizations here in South Florida. I was on the board. I work with a lot of different 501(c)(3) nonprofit organizations helping the community. I'm very involved now.
I can see it.
I think that I wouldn't have felt confident if I didn't pursue my education because not only do I have those credentials, I could say, here's my certificate, here's my diploma, but also because I know that I put in the hard work to understand policy, to understand how decisions get made at different levels of organization. So, um,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, it's a lot. Would you consider this like a that? Well, maybe you see it, or maybe you don't consider it like that, but like a change in identity, like something evolved as a result of returning to school.
absolutely. I feel like I can step into a room now and say, I was always proud of myself for being a hairstylist. I would say, I'm a hairstylist. Come see me. Here's my card. Now I step into a room and I say, hello, my name is Brian Bender. I'm on this council. If you need anything, if there's any concerns, I would love to be able to help you. Let me know. I could bring it up at a meeting. It's definitely put me in a position where I feel like I can exact or initiate change in the community because of the way that I'm now positioned, because of my credentials, and because of the learning that I've done. So in every way, I feel like education has been such a benefit in my life, not just the diploma, but everything that's involved with that. We're almost
Yeah. Somehow, we already went ahead with some questions I wanted to ask you about leadership. Um, like something's changed when you go back to education, and I wanted to know. You already answered some of that, but how this influenced the way you think about leadership? If this has strengthened your sense of credibility, or yeah, so as a leader, you feel like, well, okay, and if you notice ways in how you communicate or influence or inspire others since you began with this journey pursuing this path.
I'm going to take the last part of that question first, and I'm going to say, it meant the world to me when I got a message a couple months ago from somebody that I used to be a hairstylist with in a salon. She said to me, I've been following your journey on social media, just the little things that you post, your graduation, the things that you're doing, all the grant programs that you're in. And she said to me, you inspired me so much. Do you know that I went back to school myself and I got my bachelor's degree in education. She had already told me she had her associates already, so she didn't need to start at ground zero like I did. But she went back to school, got her second 2 years of education, and she was able to become a teacher in the school system. And that meant the world to me. That really meant the world to me. And I felt like I didn't even know I was inspiring anybody. I was just sharing my good news on social media. And as far as my leadership and the way that I view leadership, I'm very much the kind of person who is a lead by a compass and not a roadmap. I think the roadmap is too stagnant. It's too etched into the grooves. And I think when you have a compass, you can kind of go in a different direction. You could go north, you could go south, east, or west, but it's definitely a way of positioning myself to being agile and nimble and saying, okay, this didn't work. I don't have to stay where the map says. I can go in this direction because my internal compass is telling me that I'm going to be led by perhaps my values, my way I believe things should be equitable for others. They don't put everything in a guidebook or a textbook.
Right, right.
There's certain things you have to kind of figure out. And
Yeah,
how are you going to do that as a leader? You have to have a
right.
strong
Right.
sense
Yeah.
where you're going.
And about leadership, yeah, well, you know, Brian, I'm a psychologist, and I see changes in people, and it's there's a big difference when a change comes from an advice, you know, and when it comes from an example, from walking the path. So you're telling me, like, really a good leader would walk the path before, and will show how to do it. And this story you just told me talks about that. So I mean, the abilities that you been strengthening, like getting stronger, are your own path. It's not just like the good intention or the good idea or just the insight a person could have at the moment, but they can be inspired by what you do. So why do you think sharing personal stories, but not just that, uh, walking the path, as I was saying, can motivate others?
Well, I think very often people say you first. Okay, I'll do it. You first, though. And I really feel like when another adult, I mean, I'm almost 40 years old. I'm going to be 39 in a couple of months. I started this education journey at the end of 27, going into 28 years old. And you're an adult at that point. I was living on my own. I had a sense of identity, but I feel as though expanding my sense of identity has been such a gift to myself, and I'm becoming a resource to my community by the things that I partake in, the organizations that I am a part of, and just how I spend my time and how I think about leadership. It's really important because one of the very first things that I read, and I wish I did, I don't have it right in front of me, but in one of my textbooks online, it said, in order to be a good leader, you have to first know how to lead yourself. And that has always stuck with me. So I
Mm.
could not call myself a leader if I was unable to give myself a direction in the way that I'm able to and follow through on it. So the beginning of my I think even from the beginning of my educational journey, just getting that associate's degree, I was demonstrating a sort of leadership that I didn't even know that I was demonstrating on myself. I don't think that leaders are necessarily born. I believe leaders can be made,
Yeah.
but also there's a little something in there,
Yeah.
there's a spark of something, and I definitely
Yeah.
have always felt it without having words for it. So
So, what is the message? I mean, what message do you hope others take away from hearing about your experience?
I hope that what others get from what I'm trying to say and really get it, that you can do hard things. And I talked about that earlier in this interview. You can do hard things because all it is a decision. You make a decision and you go piece by piece. There's a famous axiom in the English language, and it says, how do you eat an elephant? Perhaps it's in Spanish as well. How do you eat an elephant? Piece by piece. And educational journey has really been a huge elephant, a great elephant. I love elephants, but they're huge. And the only way to eat them, well, you shouldn't eat, I wouldn't eat an elephant, but if you were going to eat an elephant, you would eat it piece by
Right, right. Yeah, one day at a time. They say, and yeah, I think that's like a good advice for someone who's uncertain or intimidated to return, or is considering returning to school later in life. What misconceptions do people often have about pursuing their education in midlife? Is a question I have, and if I'm gonna advise someone about it, what would be your advice for me?
my advice, and I'm going to tell you what a great mentor said to me. She was the teacher that I was the assistant for in her classroom. She said to me, Brian, be like a horse in a horse race. You know how they wear the blinders and they can't see side to side? Just keep going forward, one step at a time. It relates to how do you eat an elephant piece by piece, put the blinders on and just keep going. And she also said to me, I said to her, but I'm not going to be in a classroom until I turn 33 years old. And oh my gosh, I'm going to be so old. And she said to me, Brian, you're going to be 33 anyway. So,
That's right.
cool. So I think that's what I'm trying to distill.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going and,
Yeah.
hopefully everybody has a nice long life. You're going to be a year older anyway. You're going to be 2 years older anyway. Don't you want to be 2, 3, 4 years older and have that accomplishment under your belt, in your heart, in your mind, knowing that you did this hard thing and you could say to yourself, I did it. That
Yeah.
would that would be my
You,
advice.
you know, plus sometimes it seems like people think that younger students have an advantage uh, next to adult learners. I mean, but there are some advantages or some strengths adult learners have. Yeah. Have you consider? Did you notice that you like? I mean, like, well, maybe you were 32, but you had a more experience, more knowledge. I'd like to call it wisdom.
I love this question, Juan. Yeah. So the advantage I believe that adult learners have as compared to younger learners is that they know what they want. It's not by inertia. It's not a roller coaster pushing you to the next thing. You leave high school, you go to college, you do your college, you get your job, you live your happy life. For some people that's how it works. For other people like me, I did some college. I went to cosmetology school. I was a ballet dancer. I traveled around the world. I gave classes and I knew at that point what the world was like. And I knew that there were certain goals and milestones that I wanted to achieve. I wasn't always a person that completed things first, but I knew that I wanted to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, I'm college educated. And that was so huge for me. And people might say, oh, it's nothing. It's just a piece of paper on the wall. Okay. Well, if it's just a piece of paper on the wall, go do it, because it's more for me and millions of other adult learners out there than just a piece of paper on the wall. And getting back to the younger students, because there's a trajectory, there's a path already built from high school into college, they don't even think about it. If you're able to get through school and do it, it's just something you've been doing since you were 5 years old in kindergarten. You go up to 22. Some people take a break, have other life situations like I did, have other experiences, wonderful experiences, um, but then come back and revisit it with the maturity and the steadfastness and the clear eye toward what the future goal is. So I think when you're younger, you don't have enough life experience to exactly know why you're doing college, other than I want to get a great job and I want to make a lot of money and have a nice place and all of that. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But for adult learners, it's a revisiting of something with in a higher octave. It's in a or from a higher vantage point, because you know what life is like without that degree, and then you learn what life is like after you do have that degree, and that's been so eye-opening and
Yeah,
powerful.
and you went ahead with my next question, and yeah, the difference, that paper in the wall, that the message I'm getting from you, and I take with me, is that doesn't matter in what moment in life you are. I mean, it's not like you're very young or you're very old. It's never late to pursue happiness, or to find a meaning in your life. So let's say, in a certain way, very existential. So I thank you a lot for this message. I really think it's going to be helpful for
I hope so.
a lot of people, and it's very inspiring. Actually, it makes me, I think, hey, I have some dreams, and some things, some journeys I didn't continue. So,
Well,
well,
I hope this
your
inspires
message is
someone. You're
already.
very accomplished, so already, so I don't
Yeah, but I mean,
sure you should get
and I can still do it. Yeah, it's so. Thank you so much for that inspiring message, Ryan. It's been great to hear your story, and to see everything you have gathered in the journey. And thank you for sharing it with the people. It's going to be useful, not just for me, but for a lot of people. So, all right, we are done. And
I appreciate this. This has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for talking about
okay, thank you for talking with us, and I hope to see you soon. All right,
much. Have a wonderful day.
you too.
No.